To be successful in the entertainment industry is not easy, but one of the things I think we can do if we want to really go for it as a director or as an actor is to listen to the people that have done it and who are doing it. And that was the case with our guest in the class this night was Jason Ensler, who's been a long-time, very successful director and executive producer of many shows. It was really wonderful for the students to get a chance to get up and do work for him and get notes from him. I know they all found that very, very valuable. But what was also great was the interview I was able to have with him, where he shared a lot of insights into directing, how he approaches scenes, and also how he casts the shows that he does. It was really a terrific, very inspirational interview, so check it out. All right, well, I'm very excited about tonight's guest. You know, back in around 2003, I was in the middle of this commercial campaign for Del Taco. I was the Del Taco guy for 6 years. And so, because during that time, I had been working in movies and TV before, but then I was this for 6 years. But one project came up. I got an opportunity to play Don Knotts, who everybody loved Don Knotts, Emmy Award winner, one of the classic actors of all time. So I guess somebody said, the Del Taco guy can play Don Knotts. I don't know how I got the role. Do you remember by chance?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the role wasn't huge, and maybe we're going to get a Canadian actor, but anyway.
It was an impossible shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Well,
I found my way.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So anyway, I got to play.
I think had we not found you, I don't know, like we would have found a way around it.
Yeah.
Or back of his head with a voice or something.
Yeah. Well, luckily I was able to get it. So I flew up to Canada to play Don Knotts. I mean, come on, it's unbelievable. And I was up there for 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. And I was just having a good time for this movie, which is a behind the scenes of Three's Company, where they're taking these iconic characters with young actors, and they're going to do it behind the scenes. I'm like, I hope this turns out okay. This is a challenge, man, but I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to be Don Knotts. Sorry I'm late. My agent just called and told me to come on down here. Something wrong? So then I go to the screening of the film, and there's Don Knotts sitting by himself in the middle of the theater. So I go over and I sit next to him, and we start talking. I had met him before. And next thing I know, the lights go out, the screen opens, the movie starts, and I see me playing Don Knotts while I'm sitting next to Don Knotts. Oh boy, here we go. And at the end of the movie, he leaned over, he says, "Well, you did me proud." Which was amazing. But you know what else was amazing? The movie was fantastic. Everything was great, and that's not just me saying. Daily Variety raved about it. All these great reviews came about it, and it's all because of our guest today. It was really amazing. And then after that, I worked with him on a music video once. I came in and helped out with the music video, which was
danced.
Fun. I did dance.
Yeah.
Still got it. And then when my book was coming out a couple of years ago, I reached out to him, even though I hadn't seen him in a while. I said, "Would you mind writing an endorsement?" He wrote a beautiful endorsement for my book. It's such a pleasure for me. He's gone on just to do amazing things, directing such iconic television shows as The West Wing, The Newsroom, something called My Name is Earl. Unfortunately, I wasn't in that episode. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Grace and Frankie, Lethal Weapon, Two Broke Girls, The Goldbergs, The Old Man. And he's produced a lot of shows. He's been the executive producer of shows Andy Barker P.I., The Exorcist, The Passage, Love Victor, and now Will Trent. Also Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Unbelievable career. And it all really, his big break was that movie.
It was Gregg.
But we're going to hear about so much of it. It's going to be a great night. Please welcome Jason Ensler. I'm so glad to have you here, Jason, because I'm just so impressed with what you've done. You weren't born into Hollywood royalty or anything. You were just another guy that came out here, right?
No, I was not.
But you came out here and you had talent.
I kick myself every day.
You wish you had. But talent and tenacity is what got him, I think, where he is. Any of us that last a long time, we have to have talent and we have to have tenacity. But it all starts somewhere. So when you were young Jason Ensler, when was the first time you looked through a camera and thought, I can make art with that? When did you get inspired that you might want to be a director?
Well, I didn't look through a camera until I was until college. Then I started looking through a camera. But before then, I was like a lot of people. I was an actor, you know, in all the plays.
Yeah.
And that sort of gave me the bug. And I was always like a young cinephile. You know, I was always, you know, back before we were so fragmented, there was the monoculture. And so like watching things and knowing things was like part of being social. Like it was, you know, you watched Miami Vice and Hill Street Blues and Family Ties, and that was a conversation that you'd be having for that week about the stories, about the characters, about the jokes, and the movie's the same. You know and you remember there was a time where you remembered where you were every time you saw a movie. I can tell you where I was. Every movie I saw from the time I started seeing movies until like Facebook, and then it just becomes fragmented, and I forget who I'm with, and I was probably on my couch, and it's different.
But eventually you got to the camera, and I know
eventually I got to the camera, and I was instantly fascinated with composition.
Yeah.
How sort of the confluence of a single moment and the way the light fell and the expression. Usually I was working with subjects, the expression, or sometimes not. Sometimes you have like architecture of absence, right? Where you're just shooting like William Eggleston and it's a ketchup bottle, and you somehow make it beautiful, or you tell a story. And so I became fascinated with how a single image could communicate so much. And I still use that, I'm still studying, but I still use that when I'm composing shots and doing blocking. It's what's the single image, what's the anchor frame, what tells the story without any dialogue or movement or sound.
And I know you're a wonderful photographer too, and I know I like how you say sometimes you go out and just decide to shoot as a photographer that you admire. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that?
Sure. Well, you know, it's study. Like I'm not formal. I never studied photography. I'm a hobbyist. Yeah. And I do it to sort of, hone my craft as a director. And it's the one thing I refuse to like be paid for or like, do anything on commission. I don't want to sully it. It's like the truest thing I can do for myself. So I just shoot to shoot. And so sometimes I'll like look at some of my favorite photographers, whether it's, the sort of the giants like Gary Winogrand or Bruce Davidson or Saul Leader or Mary Ellen Mark, and I'll look at some of their verite street images. They're sort of it's a combination of like photojournalism and street photography, and they all went through different phases. Like if you study their careers, like Lee Friedlander went through a phase where he was just shooting reflections. And Saul Leader there was a time where before he was shooting like through foreground and snowy foregrounds and passing buses, he was doing portraits of beautiful women. He was a fashion photographer. So you see the growth and the movement. And so sometimes I'll take like this era of Saul Leader and this era of William Eggleston and a little bit of Alex Webb, who's a contemporary, and I'll go out thinking about those ideas and then kind of shoot my version of it. There's an old Jarmusch quote, which is, it doesn't matter where you get it from, it matters where you take it to.
Wow.
So I'm not afraid to like borrow and steal, because it's not going to be what I stole. It's going to be something else.
Your version, yeah. I remember Tom Hanks talking about that. There was some big AFI event that he was being awarded, and he goes, "So great to see so many people out here that I steal from all the time."
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved out here from Kansas to be an actor. Yeah, big applause for that. Big smattering of applause. I was driving. I was up in Northridge. I was driving back to my apartment, single apartment. And I was trying to figure out, how can I be a successful actor? What can I do? And I remember the thought occurred to me, well, what would a successful actor do today? And then I started taking action. And I remember hearing you say you had a mentor, Chuck Russell, that said something similar to you as far as directing.
I wish he was my mentor. I had an interview with him, and he didn't give me the job. But he became sort of like a mentor by proxy, because he said he was a huge cinephile too, and I had just graduated from film school, which, as Penny Marshall said, is a 3-year snow day, right? Like you sit around and you watch movies and you talk about movies and it's movies. And so I was a huge movie nerd already. Like I was already a nerd, and then I was a super nerd. And so I walked in, and so was he. And so I was interviewing for his assistant.
Tell him about some of the movies he directed.
He wrote the remake of The Blob with Frank Darabont. He directed the 3rd installment of Nightmare on Elm Street. He did The Mask. He did Eraser. And I was working as a temp on the Fox lot after film school. And someone said, "Oh, you should meet with Chuck Russell. He's looking for an assistant." So I got the meeting. And then we're talking about, the French New Wave and Italian neorealism. And he's like, "I'm not going to hire you. I don't want you picking up my laundry. I want you to go direct. Like, I want you to go and like direct anything you can get your hands on." It was kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like you say, "Screw it, I'm doing it."
Yeah.
So he was like direct plays and traffic and documentaries and industrials and so then I like found a way to just direct stuff for no money. It was just shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you slowly started working your way up. I mean, I know the NBC promos kind of got you some chances. What was it before NBC promos that you started?
A friend of mine called me and said, "I just did a job for the woman who is at the Chamber of Commerce for Beverly Hills, and she's looking to do a documentary on the beauty industry." And I was like, "Okay, sure, let's go." So then,
I'm your guy.
And so they said, "How much can you do it for?" I'm like, "I don't even know what it is. What are we doing?" And so you're just going to go around to all like, I'm trying to remember their names. Frederick Fekkai, he's a hairstylist, and Jose Iber, correct? Yeah. Okay. And manicurists and eyebrow waxers and like the whole industry, the Beverly Hills beauty industry is a thing. What I discovered ultimately is that there was a subversive version of what I shot, because there is a denial of mortality in Beverly Hills within the zip code. And so I ended up cutting like a very funny subversive piece, which I didn't show them. But I did I did a job for them on the Beverly beauty industry. They gave me like $7,000, and they said, keep what you got to keep to make your rent, and spend the rest on feeding your crew and shooting. So we did a thing, and then from that I got a job. The same woman also, I love this woman, she also worked at the Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and she was like, "Will you come do a piece for me on retinoblastoma, which is a cancer of the eye?" And she wanted this piece because they were going to Sacramento to try to get legislation passed to create early detection, because if you don't catch it, then these children go blind, they lose limbs. It's a terrible thing. So we made this quite lovely piece, which is, that piece actually got me seen by NBC, which got me into the thing. And then I did one other piece, if you want to hear about it.
Yes.
Okay, so I went to Brandeis University, and I studied politics because I was supposed to be a lawyer, and my parents they're going to be here any minute to tell me what a disappointment I am. No. I got a call when I got out of film school. It was somewhere in between these projects, and it was a producer. That's the whole story. It was Stan Brooks, who produced the Three's Company movie. Yeah. He found me somehow and said, "I want to do a piece on the 50th anniversary of Brandeis, but they want to do a piece on all of the entertainment industry alumni," which at the time included David Crane and Marta Kaufman, created Friends, and Gates McFadden, who was on Star Trek, and Marshall Herskovitz, who produced all 30-something and produced all Ed Zwick movies. Wow. So it was a long, esteemed list of people. And I was like, "I'll just take the list, thank you." And I needed some framing device, and I remembered that Woody Allen had mentioned Brandeis in a couple of movies. And I remembered specifically in Annie Hall, he says to Carol Kane,
You like New York Jewish left-wing liberal intellectuals, Central Park West, Brandeis University, the socialist summer camps, and the father with the Ben Shahn drawings, right? And the really, strike-oriented kind of... stop me before I make a complete imbecile of myself.
No, that was wonderful. I love being reduced to a cultural stereotype.
And he says, "Yes, I'm a bigot, but for the left." And so I had this idea. Okay, at the same time, my grandmother left me a voice message. Remember answering machines?
Yeah.
She left me a voice message that I played over and over again. So it was like, because I thought it was so funny. She was like, I play canasta with Judy Rosenbaum, who has a cousin who lives in Philadelphia, down the street from the parents of Michael Skloff, who is the composer of Friends. You should call him. And I took that idea, and I had my fake grandmother basically have dementia and think that there was a woman named Alison Porchnick, which was the Carol Kane character in Annie Hall, who was in Hollywood and who could help me. So I went on this false journey to find Alison Porchnick, and everybody played along.
All the Brandeis.
All the Brandeis people played along with me. So it gave it structure and momentum.
Wow.
And then I don't know where I got the cojones, but I just was like, I don't have an ending unless Woody Allen sets me straight. So I wrote Woody Allen a letter. And back then, and I wish I still had this, back then I didn't know the rules. So I didn't know that I was breaking them.
Yeah,
You know,
great.
there's an old Miles Davis quote, which is Wes Montgomery played impossible things on the guitar because he didn't know they were impossible.
Wow.
And so I didn't know if I did that now, I'd just get so much trouble. They'd be like, you know better. I went around circuitous. I got his address from somebody in the mailroom at ICM, and I sent him a letter. And somewhere in the middle of shooting, I get a phone call, and this woman says, Woody likes your idea. He'll see you at Friday at 5 at his office on Park Avenue. And I thought I was being punked. And I was like, wait, I didn't tell anybody about this. So I guess we'll go to Woody Allen's office. And we did, and he set me straight. He said, I never said she went to Brandeis. I said she was a Brandeis type. And that piece then finally was complete as a result. And that did a lot of legwork for me in terms of being seen and doing something different. And that's that and the retinoblastoma thing kind of led to NBC.
Because so many people saw that because so many famous people were in it. The Brandeis.
Yeah, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
so
fantastic.
It's fun.
So then you started doing these NBC promos, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched a couple on your website. It's so fantastic. I love the approach. It was artistic rather than, hey, the next show. It's just you were seeing these people at work, and then you felt like they were part of your family.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I always say my best work at NBC is somewhere in a drawer because I pitched so many things that were so whatever you want to call them, esoteric or poetic and I got a couple through, which was great. But my boss at the time at NBC had a sign behind his desk that said, "It's the rating, stupid." And every time I would come in with an idea, I came in with we had the Olympics at the time when the Olympics went every 2 years. And I came in with this ridiculous idea that, because I saw this video of these two cheetahs racing, and I was like, what if two fish were going over some fisherman's pole, and it was like a pole vault, and what if two leaves in Central Park were racing in the wind? And so I brought this in, and I was like, and the tagline was, "It's the Olympic spirit, it's everywhere," which I thought was pretty cool. And he just shakes his head and he points to the sign, and that was that. So.
Well, you snuck a few through because
I
I
got a
love
few
the ones
through,
on
yeah.
your website are great. And then somehow you get this opportunity through Stan Brooks to direct. You know, I remember Neil Simon had this philosophy about the names of his plays. They needed to seem like they're part of the lexicon. You know, The Odd Couple, Barefoot in the Park.
Yes.
And then we come up with this movie. What was the title of the Three's Company movie?
It was.
It was the longest time. Behind the Camera.
It was all a legal thing. It was.
Yeah,
It was.
right.
It was behind the camera, the unauthorized story of Three's Company.
Right. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you get the opportunity.
It's like the Odyssey. You know? It's like-
Right, yeah. This is
Yeah.
your first opportunity to really direct a whole feature. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stan came to you. Did you pitch yourself? Did he just want you right
He
away?
let me know about it, and I then had to sort of do my work internally at NBC because getting out of promo is not any. You know,
Yeah.
it's once you're, you know how it is. Like once you're pigeonholed, and people rely on you for this one thing.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you find that person who supports them not having you anymore.
Yeah.
Because they were relying on, you're like part of the creative team,
Yeah.
and we're cooking along, and we're doing well, and I'm saying I want to do other things. It's hard to find the right support. So it was a journey of like diplomacy and meetings and things, and eventually I did this one thing, and in retrospect, it was very smart to put the president of the network in the thing.
Yeah.
Because he got to watch himself in the movie, and he liked that. And so when I actually called him Stan said, "You have to call the president." And I said, "Okay." And I called him and I said, "It's me. And I want to do this Three's Company thing." And he was like, "I will allow it." So that's how it went down.
Yeah. And so now you get this project, which really, I mean, it turned out amazing, but it could have been something that's kind of
It should have been.
schlocky or something, you know?
Yeah.
But how did you do it? I mean, the music is a big key, but somehow you have these long shots. I mean, you just must have put every ounce of your creativity into this. I just cannot believe what you did. If you get a chance to watch it, it's out there. I watched it on YouTube. Somebody posted it, but
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was hoping it was out there, but
Yeah.
there was some legal thing in there. I
yeah.
don't know.
But how did you do it? I mean, that's a big question. But did you change things?
Changed the script a little bit, but the structure was there. Well, one, it was casting. We got really, really, really lucky.
Yeah.
We got similar to your story. The guy who played John Ritter,
Yeah.
Brett Anthony. We were auditioning. This has never happened before or since. Some guy came in to audition, and he stopped his audition like midstream, and he goes, "Guys, there's this guy sitting at home. He's the funniest guy I know. He was on one episode of Seinfeld. He is John Ritter. You should bring him in." And we brought this guy in, and he came in and he did a pratfall, and we were like, "Are you okay?" And it was all shtick, and he was a very physical, comedic, and wonderful actor, and he was John Ritter. And he met John Ritter before he passed, and John watched the movie and said there's something very similar that was how it went down, and you honored me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So key. He did a great job. Yeah. I think he became friends with the family too. And
Yeah, I think
even
so.
to
Yeah,
this day.
yeah.
But Jude did a great job. Melanie did a great job.
Melanie was wonderful.
Yeah.
And Brian Dennehy was terrific as
yeah.
Fred Silverman, of the network president.
Danny Roebuck was.
Oh,
good, too.
terrific. And some really great Canadian actors.
Yeah.
I think for me, I always want to approach something like, what's the most authentic version of it? And they weren't policing it, because it was like it was just like another it was product for them.
Yeah.
So and sometimes, many times since, there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, and everybody wants a piece of it, and everybody has an idea. I was lucky on this one that nobody had a clue, or they didn't care, or they cared. They cared enough to make it, but they didn't expect much from it.
Yeah.
And so I just approached it like I approached anything. Was like, what's the most authentic version of this? And the most authentic version was to make it feel like it took place from 1977 to 1982, which is how the story unfolds.
Yeah.
And so I looked into shooting on this old Agfa stock so that I could really feel, and we found like the last Agfa in the world, and we shot on it. And then I was like, I need a commitment from a musician that so that we get the music right. And I had recently, I had, at the time I was discovering a lot of 70s soul music, and I was obsessed with the Ohio Players. Again, I didn't know the rules. I didn't know I needed a music supervisor. I called the Ohio Players and I said, I'm making this movie and I want to feel like the 70s and I want to use your catalog to score the film.
Wow.
And they were like, cool. And they made us then I got the studio involved.
Yeah.
And then they made us a deal, and the Ohio Players, there's got to be 12 songs. I think. I mean, I threw a lot of music at it.
Yeah, a lot of music, and some
yeah.
great songs in addition to their music.
Oh, and that was the other thing. I called Daryl Hall to get Rich Girl.
Right.
And then they were like, don't stop calling musicians.
You know, there was funny moments in the movie, a lot of funny moments in the movie, but the music was great, and then such a beautiful, touching end with, you know, For All We Know.
Yeah, that was lovely. That we added we added that in
Later.
Yeah, there was no. I was like, what if we shot this thing? You know where I got it from was those promos I did, those behind the scene promos where we're shooting on Bolexes and we're like peeking in on the actors getting ready for the new season.
Yeah.
I loved that idea, and I wanted to try it again, but within a story.
Well, you pulled it off. I mean, Jason, it's unbelievable. I could not believe what I was
thanks.
watching. And then I was so happy to see all these great reviews saying the same thing. And then it just catapulted.
You're bringing
you
me
know?
back.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
But you got so many opportunities after that, and you've just had an amazing career. But you also share, you know, so much information on Instagram and so forth. Tell us about AHA film class that you did.
Oh, that was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
There's an art school. I was living in Telluride, Colorado at the time, because my wife had a midlife crisis, and we moved to a little shack. She was teaching in an art school. She's a painter. And she was like, what if you did a series of film classes to raise money for the art school so that we keep it alive, because you know, the pandemic was crushing everything. So I did a series of three classes. One was on sort of how you capture grief in cinema by using two very disparate movies. I was using The Babadook and Ordinary People have a very similar central idea that if you resist grief, a monster will create itself and swallow you, which is evident in Mary Tyler Moore's performance and character in Ordinary People, but also in the parable that is The Babadook, as that monster comes alive and tortures her. But it's two very different genres, so it was a study of some of the similar compositions and the similar tropes and the similar visual approach that grief has a language, visual language. And then I did a very technical class on eye lines and blocking and lenses.
6 questions before blocking.
6 now. I think it's 12 now.
Do you remember them? Can you say it? Or?
I want to know if it's a scene of connection or disconnection. And if and also what the arc of the scene is, like what the polarity of the scene is. Usually most scenes need to in some way go from positive to negative or negative to positive, and if it doesn't happen within a scene, then it better happen within a sequence that the scene lives in. Because you need movement, you need emotional movement. So to know if it's a scene of disconnection or connection helps me start to understand how I'm framing it. Because if it starts as a scene of connection, let's say, then I'll know that I want to see 2 shots, and I want to see over the shoulders, and I want to see body language, and I'm roughing it in. And then if it ends in a scene of disconnection, then I'll want to isolate them by the end of the scene, so that visually, again, if you turned off the sound, you can see the arc of the scene. You can experience it. Whose scene is it? Which I don't totally subscribe to. I don't want to be so binary about it, because sometimes it's not only one person's scene, but there's usually someone who holds status within a scene over another person, and that may shift within the scene too. So that could change blocking, it could change framing. There's an old Gordon Willis trick where to diminish someone in a scene, you hold an over the shoulder where the shoulder or the body bite in the foreground takes up almost half the frame, so that the other person is literally like diminished visually. And then the edit off of that is a clean single on the person whose body you were over, and now they have so much power on both sides of the line.
I see, yeah.
So it's knowing sort of what the status is and who's where in the dynamic, and then other things. Yeah.
I love the artistry with which you work, but you also have to work with actors. And tell us about the difference between giving an actor an adjective or an action.
Oh, sure. I try to avoid adjectives.
Right. I love that. I heard you talk about that. Never give an actor an adjective.
Well, you can't play it. Like, what are you playing? You're embodying a theoretical idea of a human experience, but it's not specific to the moment.
Right.
And what the moment is about and the urgency of the moment is something that, depending on what it is, that's where I have to get dirty and create an environment where the actor can play. And whether it's an objective, obstacle and tactics and shifting tactics. I will say, that's the other thing. Knowing what the objective, the obstacle, and the shifting tactics are. Knowing what the super objective is, like what does the person want in their life, and how is the scene sort of feeding into that conflict. But also, the tactics are super important, because when the tactics shift, it's usually a clue where the pivot points are in the scene. And the pivot points can change the visual language as you move through the scene. You may change a lens because a character decides to suddenly have some agency, and stick up for themselves, or shift the power dynamic. If I can, I like to keep everything active. But most of the time, I would prefer, as with the actors, to really talk about the scene work and the scene analysis and everything I'm talking about, the shape of the scene, the arc of the scene, the emotional values of the scenes and the moments, and then work within those things that we understand before we get to set, so that when I'm on set, we're not talking about that stuff, right? Like, that's the prep work that I do with the actors. The way that I know to be the most efficient is to work with action and obstacles, and then figure out how you're overcoming that obstacle. That's the only thing you can play,
right?
Or you can listen, or you can be still.
Otherwise, you're acting.
Otherwise, you're acting.
You don't want nobody wants to see acting.
Yeah, and I also think it's a trust. Like, the actor has to trust in their own presence. I remember Jerry Seinfeld said he knew he was funny when he got up on stage and he didn't say anything for 2 minutes and people started laughing. He just trusted that he was funny. He didn't have to make a case of it.
Yeah, that's great. You don't have to prove it.
Right.
You just are. I'm name dropping here for a moment, but I did a movie with the Coen brothers, The Man Who Wasn't There, about 15 years ago. Billy Bob Thornton.
Great movie, yeah.
Yeah, Scarlett
Johansson.
Johansson. Yeah, black and white. The DP on the film, Roger Deakins, was nominated for an Academy Award for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a great movie. And I always wanted to work with him again. And then last year, I got to work with Ethan Coen again on his movie, Honey Don't. And I remember shooting a close-up, and at one point, the DP, they're resetting, he goes, "Hey, Gregg, you're really good." I'm like, oh, thank you. He goes, no, I look through this lens all the time. You're really good. And I was like, wow, that really meant something to me, because I know he meant it. He didn't have to say it, and he does watch actors all the time, as do you, through the screen and sometimes the camera. What do you see in an actor that makes them stand out?
They're just dedicated to the script. They're dedicated to the script and the story, and they're in the moment. They're not worried about anything outside of what they're doing and the lived experience of that character in that moment. And they're also, as well as they've prepped, they come completely open, right? There's an openness. You can't be open and if you're stiff, if you're in your prep, if you're like want to do it a certain way, and any note throws you off balance, that's not openness. You need to be, just like I do, by the way. I prep within an inch of its life, so that every department knows exactly what we're doing, and then I never look at it again.
Wow.
Because I have to be available to the reality on the day, and it's always better to make the movie that you can make versus the movie that you think you should make.
Yeah.
And then it's the other ineffable things that we can't, we can watch a movie and we can see all these special effects and visual effects, and we can go, oh, how did they do that? And then we could break it down, forensically how they did it. But when something makes you cry or laugh or shudder in fright, it's more of a mystery.
Yeah.
And it largely depends on the relationship between the actor and the director and the actor's willingness to be exposed and to be true.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I'm always telling everybody here, we got to be present, confident, and open. We need to be open.
Yeah.
And to whatever's happening right here, right now. Because this is the magic moment that you can collect, and now it lives on
That's
forever.
the other thing is that I always, and I think I got this from Werner Herzog, is that we're thieves. We take the actors, we put them into these environments, and we ask them to react to everything that's happening within the environment, and we steal it. We trap it. And which is another reason I don't love rehearsals beforehand, because I don't want to lose what you can trap.
I see, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm all for like talking it out and doing page turns and getting to know each other and building trust, but that's different than like, let's put it on its feet and we don't have cameras. That drives me crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like I've done it, or I've been forced to do it, and I'm like, well, shit, I hope we can recreate that magical moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I want to get to questions here from the audience here, but I know people are going to want to know about auditions and audition tapes. What are some things that you see in the tapes that kind of stand out to you, or how the actors handle themselves with the tapes that you watch when you're casting?
You mean good, bad, or otherwise?
Yeah.
We just want to see your face, and we want to hear your voice, and we want to see your eyes. If there's a moment in the scene where you have to turn profile or you have to, go to a wide eye line, okay. But don't be a cinematographer or a director, be an actor. Just make it so it's bright enough I can see it, make the background non-distracting, make the sound good, and then do your thing. Breakdowns can be a bit of a mirage, because it's like, oh, we're looking for this thing, and that may be true, and there's a lot of adjectives in breakdowns. They may say, your agent or someone or a producer or the casting director may say they're looking for this. Maybe, we don't really know. That's the thing, is like we're looking for the most authentic read on the material, which doesn't mean the craziest swing. We mean what are you bringing to it that no one else is bringing to it, just because you are who you are.
100%. Yeah, I'm always telling people we got to use ourselves in our work, because that makes us unique. We're playing somebody else, but we're finding it within us, and our unique take is going to be something that nobody else does, and it'll either match what you're looking for or not, but you have an impact and something
I look for in an actor, and maybe it's because I've done so much photography and studied so much photography, but when you see a subject in a photograph living their life, it's very different than when you photograph an actor behind the scenes in a TV show or a movie who's doing some acting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can see the difference, and the goal is to look like a person. It's the whole thing I was saying about dedication to the script. Like, bury yourself in the script and find a version or choices that you would make that are true to your take on the material. But that's the most important thing, is that it's authentically yours.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to fit a mold, or a type.
And then sometimes I hear that you, even if you like it, you might give them a different direction just to see how they take it, not necessarily.
Yeah, I've been really trying to, because of the self-tape thing, sometimes it's frowned upon to waste time doing callbacks, but I've been really trying to do more callbacks, because a lot of times we disagree. There's 8 chefs in the kitchen, especially on a big broadcast show. We don't agree on who is the right person or what the right take on the character is. This person has a little this, and this person has a little that, and I wish they could have a baby. And always clarifies to do a callback. It's always if there's one holdout, even they come around, they're like, oh yeah, that was right, because you give them a direction, you see. That's the other thing too, is casting off a self-tape, I don't know, you don't know what you're getting.
Right.
You don't know, you just don't know if they're malleable, if they show up, like I was saying, and are ready to explore.
Yeah.
Or if they're going to be locked in to something that may or may not work on the day.
So when you work with them on Zoom, it doesn't necessarily mean direction is not necessarily correction. You just want to see that they can adjust to a different approach in the moment.
Yes, and sometimes I'll make something up that's not even relevant to what we're shooting, like just to see if they can take a direction.
Yeah. All right, we'll open up to a few questions here. Yeah, Ethan.
They say you don't like working with like adjectives, right? So as a director, whenever I do plays, I usually ask directors, what is your verb? Like, what are you trying to do? So do you have verbs that you work with?
No, I don't. I like try not to limit myself to. I mean, the vocabulary has to be informed by the story. Personally, what I'm passionate about is watching people respond to impossible situations. I like backing people into a corner. You know, I like being merciless on characters to see how they're going to get out of it. So if I don't know what the verbs are, but I do like to raise stakes and sort of push buttons.
Yeah, Karina?
Now, when you get an audition, it's always wonderful to be invited to audition and getting the audition. But the ultimate goal is to be pushed to the producer session for you guys to see our auditions. How long do you sit with the tapes? Like, do you give it the first 4 to 5 seconds, or what captures you? Or
Well, I try to watch everything that they send. Yeah, I mean, they send a pretty short session. You know, maybe there's, out of all the people they've auditioned, maybe they'll send us 12, maybe less.
12 per character?
12 per character.
Nice. I was
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the character. If it's like a big guest star, for sure. If it's a smaller guest star or a day player, then we'll get 3 or 4 or 5. Oftentimes we don't know what we're looking for. I mean, we have an idea, just like you have an idea of, like, when you read a script, of who this person is and whether or not you fit, whether or not it's of your essence and of your tool, of your wheelhouse and your tool, whatever. And we have the same idea, but then there's a funny story. Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah, for sure.
Not my story. There's a funny story. Sean Ryan, who did The Shield,
Okay.
that he tells this story that like he had audition after audition after audition for The Shield, and he was like, I'm a terrible writer because nobody can do this. And then Michael Chiklis came in, and Michael Chiklis did his audition, and he was like, I'm a genius. So, like, sometimes you just have to wait for the right act. And many, many times, even on this last season of Will Trent, we were so surprised by the people we cast. And that's the thing, we were always surprised. Like, every time we cast somebody, we were, like, joyfully surprised. Because it was like, oh, I wasn't even thinking of that.
Wow.
You know, and sometimes, and this happens to me also as a director, when I go into a pitch meeting and I give a bunch of ideas, I'll see those ideas in the final movie, even if I didn't get the job. And many times actors will make choices within the body of a scene that are brilliant, but we don't cast them, but we take the choice.
Just saying.
Just saying.
These.
These, yeah.
All right, another question. Yeah, Claire?
This is kind of a two-parter, but when you're doing a guest directing spot on a well-known show, how much control do you actually get in pre-production as far as changing any script stuff and shots, and how do you mesh your directing style with the pre-existing style of the show?
That's a good question. If you're a guest director, you're a guest in someone else's house on a train that's already moving, with a conductor that's already conducting, and the train cars have already been designed, and you have to keep it on the track. And so you have to be authoritative and deferential in the same moment, because you're a guest, but you're also in charge, sort of. But what you're in charge of that's the thing. It's recognizing where you have influence, like anything in life. It's knowing where you can. It's the whole Stephen Covey thing. Your circle of influence, circle of concern. You stay inside your circle of influence. I shouldn't concern myself with too much of the set design, because that's already been done, right? I shouldn't concern myself with just the basic DNA of the sets as they exist. I should work within that to create a great episode of that television show. My job is to make a great episode of that television show. It's not to reinvent the wheel. It's not to show them how their show can be better. I did it when I was young, and people are still doing it. But my job is to honor the show. There's a Patty Chayefsky quote where he says, "Stop thinking of writing as art and think of it as work." And if you're an artist, your work will be infused with your artistry. So I kind of think of it like that. Like, I'm not trying to get my visual style into various shows. I'm honoring the material, and by honoring the material and doing the work and chopping the wood, my style's going to be a part of it. And when your show's open like that to you kind of coming in doing your thing, it's a lovely experience, because then you do feel like you're not just servicing material or making a paycheck, but you're part of a creative process.
That's great. Yeah, Bob?
What's the balance between, in terms of casting, the executive producers and you as either a regular director or a guest director?
It depends on the show. Some shows are more deferential to the guest director, some not. We, on the shows I've been on, we like to allow the guest director to give their choices before anybody else weighs in, so that at least we've heard from them, and then we can all weigh in, and then we have a discussion. It's pretty civil. We could all pick 5 different people, but then we'll get on the phone or Zoom or whatever we do now, and talk it out. Or sometimes the showrunner just says, "This person," and then that's that. Yeah.
But basically, for large roles on Will Trent, you have to get network approval for all of those?
Every role.
Yeah.
Anything speaking on camera, I mean, we always get the approval, except if it's a big role and there's some disagreement. But most of the time, we know the temperature and the tone of the show, so we're not likely to present somebody who's not going to get it.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about liking working with people. I like
with myself.
You have so many great posts on Instagram. You guys should follow him, Jason Ensler 1 on Instagram. He's got so many great posts. Some of his photography is so beautiful. But these thoughtful posts, you had one recently about thinking horizontally instead of vertically. Would you mind sharing that with us here?
I think I was trying to say that a lot of times in life we're always like looking for the next thing, and the relationships in that frame of mind are transactional. So it's like, oh, I'm going to get to know this person, maybe that'll lead to this, and this will lead to this, and I'll be loyal to this person. You know, it's like you're strategizing in your head. And what I was saying was that I find that when you're on set, you absolutely, it's death to think that way. You have to think, instead of vertically, you have to think horizontally. It's who's next to me, who am I making this with, and are we making the same thing, and how can we better make the same thing? I think it was, I keep quoting all these dead people. Elia Kazan said that when you're making a movie, 100 people are holding the brush, right? And sometimes you get something coherent, and sometimes you don't, and the difference depends largely on whether or not the idea is worth telling. Right, like is the central idea, like big movies aren't $300 million superhero movies if there's not a good idea behind it. Big movies can be very small, but they're big because they're saying something. Yeah. Anyway, if you really want to say something, you got to be on the same page with your special effects guy and your props guy and your script supervisor, and it has to be that vertical thinking you have to toss it. Yeah,
that's great. Oh yeah. Heather?
So if you're an ongoing executive producer, you're doing a series, do you change course? I mean, does the show, does everybody kind of know where it's going, or do you start with the pilot and the first couple of episodes and kind of the...
No, it evolves. It still evolves. I mean, even in season 4, that's the nice thing about being on a show in season 4, where you still feel like the show's growing. Like we hadn't done a bunch of things that we did this season. We did like a Jacob's Ladder-y kind of thing where Will goes down this psychic fractured rabbit hole. And so we had to create a visual language for that that hadn't been done. So we did that. We used music in a different way this season. You know, it's constantly evolving. So that's nice. I think when you get on a show and it's just the same, I think that's where that restlessness might come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get into these questions very often, but I want to try them here with you because I love these questions. What inspires you?
Good art, paintings and music, and other people doing impossible things
Yeah.
that they didn't know were impossible. Yeah.
What makes you laugh?
My wife makes me laugh.
She's very funny.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of sarcasm. I feel like it's a really fun way to communicate. Because it like takes the piss out of something. You know, it's like you're not taking something so seriously. And sarcasm has like what is it? There's like an old saying that like a sense of humor is a sense of proportion. Like I like finding things where you're like, well, it seems like it's important and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most things are not.
That's true.
Yeah.
And finally, what do you know for sure?
That this is all gonna go away.
Yeah.
And this is that you have to find a way to find awe and wonder in the present moment because it's sacred and it's gone.
Right.
It's so gone. It's so gone so fast.
Yeah. Well, I watch your work in awe. I just cannot believe what you've
that's
accomplished.
nice.
It's absolutely beautiful. If you get a chance, go to his website, jasonenslerfilm.com, and watch some of his work. It's spectacular. And it's
You're
so
very
great
nice.
to have
Thank
you
you.
here
Thank you.
tonight. We're going to do some scenes here for you, but let's give a big round of
Okay.
applause here
Thank you.
for Jason Ensler. Well, once again, a huge thanks to Jason Ensler for coming to the class. You know, I'm going to continue to have great guests coming to work out with the students. And actually, if you want to come check it out, if you're in the Los Angeles area, come over to North Hollywood. You can see greggbinkley.com for more information about classes, whether it's online or in person. We'd love to see you here.